Hello, amazing, wonderful you. This is Susanna Mittermaier. I feel like I'm starting, to tell you a little story reading from a book. No, this is not about me telling you a fairy tale. This is about a conversation about profit. So it's like so many people who are creative out there, who are different. They just want to change the world. So if you're someone who, since you were tiny, had the desire to create a wonderful world, a world that works for us, you probably haven't thought about profit or making profit. And there's a lot of points of view we have adopted, whether it's from this lifetime, from other lifetimes, or from other people, that if you really want to change the world, you're not supposed to make any money with it, or you're definitely not supposed to profit. Well, do you remember the tool, what makes you feel lighter is true for you, what's heavy is a lie? So, if you hear someone say, or if you hear yourself think, if I really want to change the world, it's not about the money. I can't make it about the money, or I cannot really profit, or I can only profit to a certain degree. Is that making, expansion in your world, or is it actually contracting? And if you're someone who has made profit, if you've made, let's say, money from whatever you're doing or teaching or products you're selling or classes you're teaching, it's like, is there somewhere in your world where you have a certain, okay, I can allow myself to, inspire people, to, facilitate consciousness or sell products and make money, but there's a line. There's a line that I cannot cross, and that's all about judgments. And if you look at people who are wonderful and facilitating, wonderful empowerment, there's this thing when they reach a certain how do you say in English, threshold, or that's a weird word, a certain level of wealth. There's a lot of judgments. There's a lot of judgments, sometimes from themselves, but mostly from other people, where they go, see, it's not about consciousness for them. See, it's not about changing and empowerment. It's actually all about them. So, and how much are you avoiding those judgments? How much are you controlling what you can create as wealth and money to avoid those judgments, to avoid, being seen as someone where it's all about the money? So what if you let that go? What if that is where you realize, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Because I just had a conversation with a friend of mine where he asked me about, me creating wealth. And it's so funny, while he was asking me, so how did you create wealth? And I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't even acknowledged that I have created wealth. Which is really funny, when we do something, we're like, we seldom acknowledge what we already have created. And then he asked me, so what are some elements for you to create wealth? And it's, for me, one of those elements is the generosity in all directions, the generosity with me. Because if I have generosity with me, I can have generosity with the whole world. If you have generosity with you and your body, you can have generosity with the whole world. So, and that's such a wonderful thing to realize, because that's not how most of us grew up. Most of us grew up with, you have to give. You have to be aware of what other people need. You have to deliver their needs. And gosh, have I been trained in that, as a psychologist and therapist, that's all I was trained in, be aware of other people's needs and then deliver them. So they leave the session in a very happy way, which is not much about empowering anyway. But what I realized later is, if I continue going down that road, English is not my first language, by the way, you might have noticed. So if I continue going down that road, then I would be so tired, and my body wouldn't be happy. So what I've realized very soon, if I want to, inspire people as a psychologist, a therapist, a facilitator, or just person in the world, I have to include me. I have to be generous with me. And so I looked at this. So what would that look like? If I would be generous with me and my body, what would that look like? And one of the things that I was taught is only spend money for what's necessary. And I had a very clear sense of what I need, and I would never spend money for more than what I needed, which worked, you know. It's not wrong, it worked. And I realized, okay, if I now go down this, you know, more generosity with me, there's a different choice I want to make than just, you know, spending money on what I need. And one of the situations where that became very clear was I was traveling for I think it was a pragmatic psychology class that I was it was a pragmatic psychology class that I was teaching in South Africa. And on the way back from South Africa to Austria, I had booked economy class, which I only had booked economy class tickets until then because I didn't need more, you know. I'm fine. Like, my point of view is I'm fine in an economy class. I don't need more, obviously, you know. And I always created myself like having a whole row where I could sleep in, and it was wonderful. I'm like, I don't need, you know, airplane food anyway. I don't eat much, so I'm good. Notice, like, that's yes, but there's also a point of view attached to this that's kind of contracting. Okay, so notice the energy behind it. And then I get an email from the airline asking me to upgrade, paying for an upgrade. And I'm like, I don't need this. They sent the email again. Come on, stop sending me this email. I don't need this. Third time sending me this email, I realized, oh, I should ask a question. So I did, finally. And I asked, okay, if I buy this very unnecessary universe, just let me point out, this very unnecessary business class upgrade, what future will that create? Okay. And unfortunately, it was very expensive and very light to do so. And I'm like, universe, come on. Like, I'm going to ask again, what will it create to buy this very unnecessary business upgrade? Light. I'm like, come on. Okay. So I finally, you know, followed the energy, even though I had a lot of points of view and judgments. And I remember the moment I sat down in business class and I'm like, this is so different. It doesn't make sense at all. It's not logical because it's a seat, you know. How can a seat, you know, create such a different energy? But, I have slow internet. I just see. So I maybe have to slow down energetically. Maybe someone can let me know if it works. And so I realized, oh, there are the comments. And so I sat down, and the moment I sat down, wow, there was such a different energy around it. And I could perceive in that moment how, with that choice to nurture me and to include me, how I set myself up for a totally different future. And that's where I realized, okay, that is something that's guiding me towards a future I'd like to have. So if I'm generous to me and my body, it creates a different future. And so I started to play with this, and I started to create wealth based on that, and in very, very many different ways. And recently we added, like in many classes, we added this awareness around profit, which, if you look at, like, if you just get the sense of that word, the way you've learned, you know, to use this word, or the way you have heard other people use this word, it has a very like energy, you know. For someone who's very creative, they go, I want to just be creative and I want to do my stuff in the world. And then, are you making profit? You know, if someone asks you, you're a tax person, or your bookkeeper, are you making profit? And like, please don't ask me that question. You know, it has a very, you know, contractive energy for many people, because in this reality, profit is, it's very narrow. What is profit about in this reality? Only money. So that's a very, you know, contracted, tiny perspective on profit. But if you ask yourself, what is my reality with profit? You might find something totally different, because profit is not only money. It includes money. But profit is a whole reality and universe of possibilities. Like, profit is the ability to create futures. Bam. So the profit conversation is where you start to realize, wow, how much profit have I been avoiding because with all the points of view I've bought from, other people, from my culture, from my country, from my family, from other, creative people, how much profit have I been avoiding with all of that? And you might go, oh, wow, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. And the thing is, if you become clear on what life would you like to create, what future would you like to create, and you might realize, oh, I do want to, contribute to a world that works for us. I would like to inspire, people to, be happy or to know what they know. I'm sure you heard that question. Can you do this more with money or without money? Can you do it more with the willingness to create profit or not? And I'm sure that becomes very clear. And if you realize, okay, if you're not willing to profit, you actually separate from possibilities. If you avoid profit, you separate from possibilities. Because, one of the things that I love about, the pragmatic psychology work and pragmatic living in general is you make everything shamelessly work for you. Everyone and everything. So let's say someone doesn't like you. You can ask, how can I profit from that? This is a perspective I've always had. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, he's like, you're such a pragmatic person. Yes, hence pragmatic psychology. It's I've always had the point of view, everything can contribute to us if we allow it. So if someone doesn't like me, I'm like, cool, I can have allowance for that. And I can ask, how can I profit from that? What can I receive from that? How can this contribute to me? And it does. So it's if you look at the people or the situations where you try to go, they can hurt me, they can harm me. I don't want to be part of that. That's everywhere you're not willing to profit. And you might realize how much that is actually controlling and, diminishing your life and your future and your possibilities. So the profit conversation, which we've had recently in a lot of classes, is huge, So rather than just asking for money, you might want to start asking for profit and more profitability. And maybe this conversation already opened up your perspective to how else can you create your life, wealth, money, if you're willing to have a different perspective on what profit is. And if you want to know more about this and dive deeper into this, we're going to start a three-part telecall series next week. I think it is on Tuesday or Wednesday. And it's about, do you dare making profit, and tools and tricks and tips on what else is profit, how else can you create it, and what else is possible for you, and so much more than that. So I'd love to have you guys, because if we creative people, if we people who go for, creating a different world, if we also would be willing to profit, how much bigger impact could we have on the world? And wouldn't that be something we would like? So maybe it's time to include you. Maybe it's time to be more generous to you. And I'd love to have you. Bye-bye for now.